How's it going, everyone? It is Andre Williams, and over here we talk stocks and we focus on one thing. Always protect your profits. And today we're going to be talking about Lucid, which was down almost 2.5% on the day. We saw some weakness inside of the markets. We did see things starting to pick up, but we ended up breaking through that key support at $16.10. I'll talk about it further in this video. I won't waste any more time. Let's jump into the agenda. If you're new to this channel, I just want to let you know we have timestamps down below inside the description. But if you're a shareholder, you're thinking about taking a position, I highly suggest you watch this full entire video. So the first thing we're going to go over is the technical analysis. We're going to be taking a look at the overall price action. We want to know support. We want to know resistance. We want to know what it looks like in the bearish case scenario and as well as in the bullish case scenario. And then we're going to be going on Fintel, taking a look at the recent short interest information. The reason why this is important because it does have an impact on the way the stock performs. And then we're going to be taking a look at the order flow distribution. We want to know the buying and the selling behavior on the retail side and as well as on the institutional side. And then when all of that is done, we'll be going into the final thoughts and as well as some more details. So let's get to it. So we're going to do a technical analysis for Lucid. Let's see how it performed on the day. So it ended up closing at $15.95, being down 2.45%. On the low, it tested $15.35, and then on the high, testing $17.27. When we take a look at the volume stats on the day, you can see we traded at 31.476 million shares, and the average volume over 10 trading days is at 24.714 million shares. So we did have above average volume on the day, and we also seen a pullback in the stock. Now, when we take a look at our chart, which is a daily chart, you can see from the RSI down below, it's at 31.79. And then when we take a look at our moving averages here on the chart, we are below the 200-day, the 100-day, the 50-day, and as well as the 21-day EMA. So Lucid continues to trade below all of our major moving averages, which tells us that it isn't a bear market. So made a 52-week low at $15.35. We ended up breaking through support at $16.10. So if we continue to have weakness in the markets going into tomorrow, we could see Lucid pulling back and testing around $15. And if it breaks $15, then I could see it trading in the mid $14 range. If you're looking for a move to the upside, of course you want to see some price action above $17.27, which was the high of the day. But in order to confirm a reversal, we need to get to the 21-day EMA, which is at $19.47. And this is a lot to ask. We're going to have to be having a lot of buying pressure coming into the tech sector or getting some really good news when it comes to CPI. And then we want to see if Lucid could get there before the end of the week. Again, that is a lot to ask. I'm personally just not seeing it, but of course I can be wrong. And then as far as for the next case scenario, if we do decide to consolidate, you want to see it staying above the low of the day at $15.35. So let's see how the stock performs going into tomorrow, and let's move on to the short interest information. So we're going to take a look at the short interest information for Lucid. So the off-exchange short volume ratio is at 65.73%, and then for the off-exchange short volume, it is just over 10.84 million shares. Scrolling down on the page, the short shares availability is at 250,000, updated just now. And then for the short borrow fee rate, it is at 11.11%. When we take a look at the history of the short volume, we can see for the close of the 6th, it was at 61.78. And then for the close of the 9th, being at 65.73. And when we take a look at the short interest percentage of the float, it is at 21.26. So that is continuing to increase. And what does this show us? Lucid does have short squeeze potential. Now let's move on to the order flow distribution. Now let's take a look at the order flow distribution for Lucid. So we see here on the inflow, it was at 82.54 million, and then on the outflow was at 69.29 million. So we end up having an inflow day. Taking a look at the breakdown, on the large it was 8.36 million, on the medium it was 41.86 million, and then on the small it was 32.32 million. On the outflow side, we can see for the large it was 0.86 million, on the medium it was 37.58 million, and then on the small it was 30.85 million. Taking a look at the large scale orders in the last 5 days, we can see for today, May the 10th, we end up having that big inflow of 7.5 million. Analyzing the numbers even further for the small scale orders that tend to represent the retail side, you can see that we had more buying than we had selling. And then when we take a look at what happened on the medium, we had more buying than we had had selling. And then when we take a look at the large, which represents whales, institutions, and funds, we had a lot more buying than we had selling. And then when we take a look at the turnover ratio, it was at 1.89%. So you know what? This is actually a consistent range for Lucid, but we have to keep in mind we ended up making a 52-week low as well. So many were going to go in there and buy that dip when it did occur, and we saw that clearly by taking a look at the order flow. So let's go into the final thoughts, and we'll also go over some more details as well. So for my final thoughts for Lucid, before we get into it, let's go over the recent press release that came out today. So we have it right here. So Lucid Motors announces launch plans for Europe, pricing and specs for the Lucid Air Dream Edition models. Also plans to open its first European retail location, Lucid Studio, at the Audensplatz in Munich, Germany on May 13, 2022. Sorry if I butchered that. Expects to open additional studios and service centers in Germany, the Netherlands, Norway, and in Switzerland in 2022. So this is definitely some great news for Lucid, and considering how much we've been seeing the market pulling back, what you want to see, especially if you have high conviction in the particular company, is operations moving forward. Them making those moves in regards to growth. This is very key. So whatever the stock price decides to do in the short term, as long as you know the company's doing what it needs to do to reach its goals and return value to shareholders, that's what really matters. Now let's talk about the price action. If you're looking for a bullish move to the upside, it needs to get to the 21-day EMA, which is around $19.47. And as far as for this week, I think that is a lot to ask, because we're pretty much saying, you know what, I want to see Lucid going to $20. We do have some key CPI data that's going to be coming out, and this will have an impact on the market as a whole. So what does this mean? So if we see some strength inside of the tech sector, the most that I would be expecting from Lucid for this week is to make a move to $18, and that is about it. And that I would consider to be quite the accomplishment, because then we could see what the stock could possibly do as far as for next week. So as far as for the downside, we ended up breaking support at $16.10, and we ended up seeing a low at $15.35. So if we see weakness in the markets due to CPI data, we could see Lucid trading in the $14 range. So that is one thing you want to be aware of. I know there's a lot of investors who watch my channel, and if you have high conviction, that's an area that you might want to consider. But if we continue to see the market pulling back, the stock will follow along with it. That's one thing you want to keep in mind. And then when we went on Fintel, taking a look at the short interest information, Lucid does continue to have short squeeze potential. There's a lot of shorts who are invested in this play, and we can see that the short interest percentage of the float has been continuing to creep up. No surprises considering the market conditions. We have a lot of volatility. But one thing that was clear when taking a look at the order flow, we saw institutions and as well as the retail side, so people like you and myself, that were loading up on shares. And not surprising seeing that Lucid was trading close into the low $15 range. And as far as what I want you guys to remember going into tomorrow, there's going to be a lot more volatility. We saw a little bit of it today. We saw a good amount of it on Monday. So as far as for Wednesday, and knowing that we have the CPI information that is coming out, I want to make sure you're prepared for it. Make sure that you are mentally ready. Whether you're an investor or whether you are a trader, it's essential that you have a game plan, because as long as you have a game plan, it should be giving you some sort of peace of mind. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I can't wait to see how the stock performs going into tomorrow. We'll talk soon.